Hey, Sprocketeers. Hey there. Welcome to another episode of a Masterclass brought to you by Sprocketeer, where we're championing the HubSpot superadmin. Thanks to all those Sprocketeers listening in. Today with us, we have QuotaPath. Now, QuotaPath is for the tools that you want to use in HubSpot when you're trying to manage, track, and report on commissions. Specifically today, we have with us Graham, who's going to talk to us about building comp plans for 2023. Welcome, Graham.
Hey there. Happy to be here, Grant.
Thanks for being on another one. For those of you who are tuning in again, Graham it was like summertime when we did the first one with QuotaPath. And now that you're at the end of the year, Graham's come back. We got to see each other at Inbound. And the fun part has been building out what we're going to do moving forward. And those of you tuning in next week are going to be in for a special Halloween treat with Graham and Grant.
Yes, a spooky edition of the Masterclass.
Spooky edition indeed. So we're going to talk about 2023. Graham's going to go over trends. He's going to talk to us about how to think about those things. And so thanks for everyone for being here. If you want to share this on LinkedIn or inside Discord, share it in the Share Super channel, or share an idea of how you use QuotaPath in one of the main channels in Discord. And you can mention Graham. He's there in Discord.
I am indeed. Awesome.
All right, take it away,
so shall I? Awesome. Well, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen. So talking through sales compensation trends for 2023. So I have two monitors here. So if you see me looking back and forth, that's why. So to give you a little bit of context, who I am, Graham Collins, Chief of Staff at QuotaPath. I also call myself the Chief Sales Nerd or the Resident Sales Nerd, whatever you want to say. I come from a sales background, but over the past 4 years, actually today is my 4-year anniversary at QuotaPath.
Hey, happy anniversary.
Thank you. I've had a lot of different roles. Over the past couple of years, I've spent a lot of time reviewing compensation plans and doing comp plan consults. And so that's on our website. If you want to sit down and actually need some help, need another set of eyes on your compensation plan, happy to do that. I've done almost 500 of them at this point, because this is my busy season this time.
We saw that you hit 400 just like last month, wasn't it?
I know. Yeah, it's like, now it's up to almost 500. So looking at compensation trends for 2023, we actually just recently completed a survey. We did a survey of about 300 different people working in sales, RevOps, and finance. Most of them were in SaaS. Most of them are in North America. I'll talk a little bit about each of the different segments there, but asking them about what's changing, what isn't changing, how they're building their comp plans for the following year. Oops. So what did we ask? 38 questions around compensation plan building, ownership, rep motivation. Why? Because sales compensation is important. It drives revenue, and it's pivotal for hiring and retaining your top talent. So let's take a quick look through the survey. So these are some of my high-level ones. These are really, really important key takeaways. 90% of sales leaders don't trust their sales compensation structure. They don't think that they have the right compensation structure. Yeah, it's a scary metric. I've even run additional surveys on LinkedIn and on other webinars and continue to get very similar results. 44%.
Can you give us a pause primary on where some of this was? Was this via email to customers?
The data for this? Yeah, so we did. So we sent it out to mostly to our customers. We also sent it out to all of those people I had done comp plan consults with. We'd sent it out in a bunch of different communities. I think I even sent it out to the Sprocketeer.Community. So there's a lot of different responses from all sorts of different folks. And the data was yeah. So and then 44% of sales reps aren't motivated by their comp plans. 75% of sales reps don't trust that they're paid fairly. And 80% of companies have said that they have paid reps incorrectly in the past. So kind of scary data, which one of the main things that we have been working on because of these results is this tool that we call Comp Hub or Compensation Hub. I'll be talking a little bit more about it in depth at the end of this. I'll actually walk us through just a quick thing, but it's a completely free to use tool. You don't even need to give your email address. There's no gate. It's completely free use. So comp.QuotaPath.com. We'll talk about it, but it allows you to build customized compensation plans specific to your business based on what's unique about your business. So
nice.
Cool. So I always like to pull up like the average comp plan. So people are always like, what is the typical comp plan? So if we're talking about SaaS, we have about a 50-50 base variable split on your on-target earnings on a quarterly basis. And your quota is based on ARR and between 4 and 7 times your on-target earnings. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about what exactly I mean there. But and then most plans have accelerators and decelerators based on your quota attainment. And then they don't really vary based on products sold or contract length, but there's some interesting facts around that as well.
I know you'll get into this, Graham. I want to call out for anyone listening. If what Graham said is foreign to you, like you haven't been gone over with your ARR or OTEs, that in of itself is a place to just start.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about exactly what I mean by that when I say like, what's your ARR to OTE multiplier on your quota? Like, don't worry. It'll make sense here in a second. So let's actually dive into that. So OTE or on target earnings is what a rep, and this is really specific to new biz sales reps, most of this data, which is where most of the variable comp plans is in new business sales reps. Now there are SDRs and account managers and leaders and whatnot. And so this isn't about that. This is about our individual contributor sales reps. So on target earnings is how much your reps would make if they hit exactly 100% of their target. And so that's broken down into 2 different components, your base salary and your variable or your on target commission or your bonus or whatever you want to call it. There are all sorts of names for it. And so generally those are on a 50-50. As you see here, more than half of the organizations we surveyed have a 50-50 split. So if your on target earnings is $120,000 a year, you have a $60,000 base salary and $60,000 worth of commission that you're expecting to make.
Do you see, Graham, that the other side of your base being a percentage more than a dollar amount?
Yeah, so it's typically like a commission versus, and we think about the variable pay as either a bonus or a commission or both. I mean, that's the other thing is that there's not very many times where people are just paid, you just get 10% commission on anything you sell. Like that's actually incredibly rare. There's almost always a nuance to it. You have 2 products or you get paid for different contract durations, or based on your quota attainment, you get different commissions, or you get a bonus if you hit your quota and you get a commission. So there are all kinds of different comp plans and more I think that's awesome. Not, commission is included.
Right. It's great for people to hear that it's not that one that you probably traditionally think of as the standard. It's actually rare, is what I'm hearing from Greg.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it makes up only about 5% of our customers use a straight commission, just single rate commission is what we call it. So awesome. So let's talk a little bit about this quota to on target earnings ratio. So this is a ratio that is one of the major ways that organizations create quotas. So you take that on target earnings. Now I used 120K in the previous example. So $120,000 on target earnings. Then you multiply that 120 by some variable, some multiplier. And that actually is one way of setting an annualized quota. So you take that 120, multiply it by 5, you have a $600,000 annualized, I say annualized quota because you'll see here in a second, not everybody has an annual quota. And that 5X is always given as like the SaaS industry standard. Like, oh yeah, you want to multiply it by 5. That's your golden standard. Well, it's actually not the case a lot of the time. It is about 5 on average for SaaS, but it varies drastically as your revenue changes. So if you're in that $0 to $5 million annual revenue as a business, if you're under 5 million in revenue, the average is about 4. And actually, if you're under 1 million in ARR, the average is about 3. And so I talk to people all the time who are like, oh, I need to get this 5x multiplier. But, if you're at less than $1 million ARR, that's not really feasible for you a lot of the time.
Sure.
But
knowing that you need to work towards it. It's not
exactly.
Now, it's start at 3, 4, and then 5.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And as you're increasing more and more, and if you're over $100 million in revenue as a company and you're still at that 3x multiplier, that's a red flag there, because you have to presumably have to pay for managers, directors, VPs, regional VPs, CROs, like all of those people. And so as you add that headcount in, each of your reps needs to sell more and more, because if you want to keep that commission stack below, 20-25% of the total, paying out 20-25% total commission for everyone, you got to be careful. At my last company, we had 7 people who would get paid out on every single deal that closed. And this was only a $25 million organization. So you got to be careful with that multiplier and make sure that it is high enough to sustain your business.
It makes sense that as you grow, there's going to be infrastructure that you're going to build in because you're growing. That's the whole point. Yeah. And so as you grow, the multiplier grows, and that expectation is just coming in. It seems like that, Graham, could be a great conversation for new hires, or as the business grows. Like, let's in our quarterly just talk about the fact that we've grown. We've hired these new people in ops.
Yeah.
And so because those new people are here, we need you guys to now step up.
Exactly. I mean, and that's often the case, is people are like, oh, my quota went up and I don't have any idea why.
Yeah, and like why? What happened?
Reps, exactly. Like if your reps don't know why your quota is increasing, then they'll just get pissed off. They'll be like, well, great, my quota went up again. But if you explain to them the why behind it and adding in those extra RevOps headcount and BDRs and all of these different people are enabling you to sell more. And so because you're given more resources, more is expected of you. That makes total sense. And then you're no longer having reps be like, why is my quota increasing? They understand it and they can talk to it.
Heard. Yeah. Don't make your quota increase an email that your reps get.
Exactly. or like a no explanation behind it.
Yeah. With nothing.
Yeah. So there are a few slides in here that you'll see that are kind of like which is a good thing. This is not one of those. This is a slide that is about 86% of companies standardize their compensation plans. And that doesn't mean that every single person on your sales team has the exact same comp plan. What it means is that everybody has a structure that carries over by role. So you have an AE, you have a senior AE, you have an enterprise AE, or you have an AE 1, 2, 3, or whatever it may be. And this has actually increased. We did this survey in 2020 and it was 69%. Now it's 86%. And so that's wonderful. I'm a huge proponent of standardizing comp plans because it's more fair. Everybody has the same shot at hitting their quota, getting paid the same amount. Well, the worst that I sometimes see is 2 people who have the exact same quota, but one person's on target earnings is twice as much, which means they get paid twice as much commission, twice as much base salary for doing the exact same job. So
that also causing frustration.
Yeah.
86% seems high.
I don't know if this is selection bias of us talking to our customers or me talking about it so much, but I was really pleasantly surprised to see 86% and such a big increase. I think that as we're moving to a more remote first culture, standardization of comp plans is becoming more and more commonplace, because it doesn't matter if you're in Portland, Maine, or Indianapolis or San Francisco. Everybody tends to have pretty standardized comp plans.
Agreed. I'm pleasantly surprised. And like you said, the increase of 17, the remote kind of makes a lot of sense. We're having conversations via software oftentimes. So if I can use QuotaPath and it makes it easy to have one, then I can just do that, share that with my reps. And then we have now a conversation over what I outlined, where if I'm walking around a sales floor, maybe I'll spend my day doing that. But now I'm spending my day remotely. And so I have that time focused on planning out the comps.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll talk a little bit about that when I show off the compensation hub, how you can standardize within that very easily. So this is one of those but good to at least, glad that the data backs up what I had assumed, which is that this is when, sure, you close a deal and you earn the commission, but you're not always paid immediately. And in smaller organizations, about 35% of the time you have to wait until the customer pays. And then as you grow, as you have more money sitting in your bank, you can pay as soon as the deal closes. And so that drops off precipitously there. There's still that other, which is sometimes you get paid when the customer finishes onboarding, or when they use your tool for the first time, or when they see value or whatever. But
yeah,
the more revenue a company makes, the quicker the reps get paid. Great.
Yeah, makes sense. It feels
not a whole lot to say on that one. That's a no duh one.
Yeah.
This is one that again is kind of a no duh, but it's good to at least see. So quota frequency, generally the most common quota frequencies we see are monthly, quarterly, annual, and then sometimes a biannual, or rarely like a weekly or a 4-month period or something. But the three most common are monthly, quarterly, and annual. And what I mean by that is, how often is your quota reset? Is it on a monthly basis, a quarterly? Obviously, everybody is measuring their reps really often. You should be measuring them, their progress towards hitting those targets. But when does their quota actually reset? And so as your average sales price increases and as your sales cycle lengthens, both of those mean that you should have a longer and longer quota period. So if you're sub 10K in average sales price, or you have a less than 1 month sales cycle, really most likely you should be on a monthly. However, as it shifts more and more, should be less likely on a monthly, more likely on a quarterly, and then eventually moving towards an annual quota period.
I love what you're doing there, Graham, that it's not the smoking gun. This is not a conversation of correct or incorrect. It's what is your business doing? And you gave two. You said the pricing and then the lead time. I was part of a manufacturing company where we would literally build machines that would then build cars. So the contract itself was 3 years. It took 2 years just to get it. And so a sales rep might have 1 or 2 in 5 or 6 years.
Right. So trying to hold them to a monthly quota just wouldn't make any sense. Yes, of course, you're tracking progress of the deal and their pipeline and whatnot over the course of monthly, but no, it wouldn't make any sense to track them on a monthly cadence, because then, hey, they close one, and what do you know? They hit 200 or no, like 1,000% of their quota that month, and then the next month and the next 10 months they miss quota. So that's where it makes sense to lengthen that quota period out, so that you can track how well somebody is doing during those time periods.
Heard. Those of you out there listening, and might be new, or this might be a concept you're setting up, what Graham said again was the length and the cost. So whatever they're selling, if it's really costly or if it takes a long time, should probably be a longer lead time on your quota frequency.
Exactly. And I'll show you a little bit about that in Comp Hub as well. So now we're talking a little bit about who's building these comp plans. So really, really early on, 1 to 4 person sales teams. So down at the bottom here, we have team size. How many people are on that team, are on the sales team? 1 to 4 people. It's going to be your sales leadership. Almost always your sales leadership is going to be the one building that, maybe because you don't have rev ops, or your finance team is too busy trying to raise a seed round or something like that. And so your sales leadership is the one who's building it. However, as the team scales, it shifts from the sales leadership to rev ops and finance. I mean, rev ops in a 26 person plus sales team, rev ops handles it almost half the time, and sales and finance is less. And this is about who owns commission planning. Right. Who is the final decision maker on planning? The reason that I lay that out is the slide after this one, which is everybody's involved, or everybody should be involved. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But so comp plans designed by sales leadership are the most trusted. However, it's a strange most trusted. So what we see here is that finance doesn't have any plans that they've built. Like, nobody said that they were not at all confident in comp plans built by finance. It's always, but only 5% said they were very confident. So it's always kind of middle of the road. Finance is like, it's always like a fine comp plan. It's
like they've dealt with money before.
Right. Like, it's like, you're never going to be like, yeah, this is a great comp plan. You're never going to be like, no, this is a horrible comp plan. It's going to be a fine comp plan. Whereas, interestingly, RevOps has the highest likelihood of being a great comp plan, but also the highest likelihood of being a terrible comp plan. And so in the middle there, you see RevOps, SalesOps. Like there's a 13% chance it's going to be a terrible comp plan and an 11% chance it's going to be a great comp plan.
That's crazy.
Pretty lower likelihood of it being a fine comp plan. And so I think that's a pretty interesting one. And then sales is kind of evenly spread between the two. Sales leadership. Yeah, they build, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's terrible, most of the times it's pretty good. So
what do you attribute the RevOps and the sales leadership to, and the confidence being that way?
So I think that RevOps, if they're trying to please everyone, that's how you end up with a terrible comp plan. Trying to please both the sales leadership team and the finance team. But if they take everybody's perspective into account, that's how you get the amazing comp plans. So sales leaders, I joke that sales wants to pay the reps as much as possible and finance wants to pay the reps as little as possible. And right. So if you try to take everybody's advice, you're going to end up building a terrible comp plan. Or if you try to please everyone and make everybody happy, you're going to build a plan that's too overly complicated and doesn't work. But if you say, if you're strategic about it as a RevOps person and you ask, okay, sales, what do you want to accomplish with this comp plan? Finance, what do you want to accomplish with this comp plan? And then you go and you actually create a plan independent of them. I think that's where you get those really, really good plans.
Heard. It would seem like the people with the experience of being in the fire, having a quota, having to answer for their actions, would really, whatever department, if you've put that person in a sales leader role or a RevOps role, or if you've made, RevOps responsible for those, I want someone who knows how it's going to be day to day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times RevOps, I joke that the people get into RevOps the old fashioned way, which is they were a sales rep who was better at ops than they were at selling. And so that's so often the case for people. In another world, I'm a RevOps leader. I could see that.
Right.
But
I like this.
The more departments you involve, the higher the likelihood it's going to be a successful comp plan. So if you have sales, RevOps, and finance all involved, that's the highest likelihood of getting a really good comp plan. What I don't have in this is that there is a 4 option, which is we ask people if other was involved as well. And sometimes that's HR, sometimes that's recruiting, sometimes that's marketing. Weirdly, there are other things in there where, like, if you involve a 4th department, it drops down precipitously. Actually, so there can be a too many cooks in the kitchen situation, but if you want to improve the likelihood of you having a good comp plan, involve other people, ask for their input. Don't necessarily try to please them entirely, but ask for their input, and you're likely to have a better comp plan that way.
That's great. Just because you've heard something doesn't mean you have to do it. It's give me more data, give me information.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, most comp plans use accelerators. People love accelerators. About 80% of the time, your quota goes up. I mean, your commission rate goes up as your quota attainment goes up, which is great. I love accelerators. The one that's interesting to me is the contract length. So almost half of comp plans now, you get a higher commission rate if you have a longer contract length, or a lower commission rate if you have a shorter contract length. And that's up drastically from 2020 as well. That was, I think it was around 25%. So it's almost doubled the number of organizations that give a accelerator for a 2-year contract. And the major reason for that, I think, is as we're entering this questionable economic times, heck yeah, I want you to sign a 2-year contract.
Please,
I want that for sure. Yeah, as opposed to just a 1-year contract. So
that makes a lot of sense. It's not just hitting a quota; it's actually the type of deals you're making too. Which, when you talk about it in dollar amounts, it always makes sense to us. Of like, well, yeah, it's bigger, so I'm going to get more. But like you just said, the length. Now, there's all these other attributes.
Yeah,
love that.
Exactly.
You heard it here first from Graham.
Yeah. So. Again, 90% of sales leaders don't touch the comp plan. So what are the ways that you can increase that confidence? So one of the ways is the more often you change your comp plan, the less confidence your reps are going to have in it. So if you're rolling out a new comp plan every year, they have the highest trust. Twice a year, it drops. Quarterly, it drops even more. And so try to build a good plan up front. Don't make a ton of changes to it. Even if you feel like there need to be small tweaks, hold off until the following year.
Graham, what options in this question on your survey are you going to change or add? Were these the only 3 options? Because I could see every 2 years, every 3 years, every 5 years.
So there was a question as well around we don't have a regular cadence for which we change our plan. I probably should have done a less often than annually or a more often than quarterly, because the answers for we don't have a structure behind when we change it, they were all over the place. Sometimes they were I don't know what the average was, but they were all over the place, because I think probably some people change it less often than once a year, and some people change it more often than quarterly. Maybe you change it monthly or whatever. And so that's a good call out. Maybe next year we'll add options.
What do you recommend? Do you recommend doing it based on business and how it's growing, or scaling back, or have a regular cadence to address the business, or a little bit of both? How do you?
Yeah. So if you can avoid changing your plan more often, or less often than once a year, let me reword that. Change your plan once a year if you can. And even then, you don't have to change it necessarily. It can be the same plan. But businesses sometimes mandate you change it more often than that. One time, at my last company, I used to do it biannually, and then I made a change to the comp plan that was so horrible, I had half of my team turnover. And so I had to change it. I had no other option. I had to change the plan and so it only lasted a quarter. Now, did the confidence drop? Hell yeah, it did. Of course it did. Right. Because I'm changing it, I panicked and had to change it again. But it was a necessary thing. Like, sometimes you have to sacrifice confidence in order for business needs. And we're in the process of that right now as well, where the market seems to be changing every week. And so sometimes we're in the middle of a recession, sometimes it's gangbusters. So who knows? There are things you can do as well, though. You can do like spiffs, short-term things. Hey, we understand it's a softer quarter, so this quarter, this isn't a change to the comp plan. Instead, we're offering an extra 3% on any deals that you close this quarter. That's not a change in the fundamentals of your comp plan. That's a temporary change. That's a spiff.
Love that. So those of you listening, what I'm hearing from Graham is, based on business, change your comp plan. And if you have a regular cadence, say annually, that doesn't mean you have to change it if things are working, but at least have an annual cadence where you're revisiting it and checking in with it and checking in with your people. And again, like Graham said, you don't have to do everything everyone said, but get their feedback at least. Do your evaluation, and then tell everyone, and we're going to keep it the same. It's great.
Right. And also don't stick your head in the sand and only review it every year. You may want to review it on a quarterly basis. Now, hopefully you're not making changes, but you're reviewing it on a quarterly basis, because things may change. You don't want to just say, no, don't worry about it. We're going to think about it next year. We're going to think about it. No. You need to be looking at it every quarter. How is quota attainment trending? How are people feeling about it? Are they selling multi-year deals, or do we need to increase the extra bonus on 2-year deals?
Oh, because then that gives you the opportunities to do some of the spiffs in between.
Yeah. Exactly.
Love that.
Yeah. This is kind of a self-serving one, but sales reps are more confident that their commissions are being paid out properly if you use commission tracking software. Hopefully that's the case. I would have been disappointed if it wasn't. This is one of those, not only a duh, but like a phew kind of questions that we ask.
And it gets back to what you were saying earlier about, as we go remote, people are expecting to have things organized and they can see it. And QuotaPath really does allow for that visibility all the way across the organization, which I love.
Exactly. And so then this slide, I am having a hard time trying to articulate it in the past, but reps who aren't confident in their comp plans don't trust their commission checks. the more confident a rep is that they have the correct comp plan, the more they trust that they're getting paid properly. So again, kind of a no duh, but like, build a good comp plan and your reps will be sure that they're being paid properly. So, and then kind of the resounding thing here, 86% of reps rank compensation as their top priority when looking for new jobs. So get compensation right, get it right the first time, and reps will be happy and stick around with you.
and know what it is. Be able to communicate it, right? Is maybe what I hear out of this, Graham.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so now I want to actually do a 5-minute overview of Compensation Hub. As I'm going through this, if you want to check it out yourself, it's comp.QuotaPath.com, kind of the bottom right corner there. But also, it is on our website. If you just head to QuotaPath, go up to product, you can get to Compensation Hub there. So let me stop sharing.
Awesome. While you get that open, those of you listening, thanks for making it this far. Graham at QuotaPath has been on the Masterclass. This is his second Masterclass with Sprocketeer. Big thanks to QuotaPath for being a Sprocketeer sponsor, to Graham for coming on and giving us all these industry trends for 2023, helping us make our compensation plans and using QuotaPath to do so. What Graham's about to show you is a new thing. So comp.QuotaPath.com is a tool for you to use that Graham's going to walk us through, but it's a free tool. It's open for you to use. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to register. Comp.QuotaPath.com, and Graham will show us how it works.
Yeah. So within here, we have 15 compensation plans, 12 account executive plans, 3 sales development rep plans. We have a bunch more sales development rep plans coming at the end of this month, or maybe at the beginning of next month. And then we're going to be adding account management, sales leaders, and just like all kinds of other plans. So this is just the beginning of it. But what this allows you to do is click into an example plan here. So say we want to build a comp plan that's commission with accelerators. We click in here, and then you can scroll down and you can see, okay, it's a little bit of a description behind it. And then each of these different components within this are customizable. So if you say, well, no, my on-target earnings is...
Hey, buddy.
Cut that out.
Yeah, you can start again.
Go on, Alex. All right, I'm going to start from here.
Cool.
Actually, I'm going to go... Okay. So this is the Compensation Hub. It has 15 comp plans within here. There are 12 account executive plans, 3 SDR plans, but we have a lot more coming soon. So at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, we're adding in more SDR plans. We're adding in account manager plans, sales leader plans, all kinds of different plans. So keep your eyes peeled on here. So then as you're looking through here, if you want to select a plan and actually customize it to your business, you can click in. So for example, commission with accelerators. We click in here, and then there are 9 different inputs that you can change. So say we want to change the on-target earnings. We were talking about 120K earlier. Mm-hmm. You can change the base variable split. So we saw that pretty much everybody's 50-50, but hey, if you want to be an outlier, you want to be a 60-40, you can do that. And then based on that company revenue I was talking about here, this gives you a recommendation on the quota to OTE multiplier. So say we're at a 3. Well, it's going to say that's, not ideal. It's not red. It's in the yellow, kind of a yellowy orange. That's okay, but it'd be better if you were at like a 4.2 or something like that. And
that's awesome, Graham. You can input it, but I also get a recommendation out. I'm not forced.
Exactly. So we want to give recommendations around it as well. And so then, as we saw, we plug in a $5,000 contract value, and what do you know? It's going to say, hey, you're sub 10,000. You're probably going to want to be on a monthly quota here.
And this is fantastic.
Yeah.
You've called out all of these things and told us the trends. You showed us the different variables, and now I'm able to use this worksheet basically, right, in real time to see what I might be doing and get a recommendation and how it would play out. This is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. And then it not only that, but it gives you earnings rules. So based on everything we've entered, you're going to want to pay 11.905% commission from 0 to 100%. And if I was to change anything in here, so change that from 4.2 to 4.3, you can see the earnings rules change down here. Or if I want to change this to like a 7x, boom, those automatically change for us. So
what is that area down there? The paths.
Oh,
that
yeah.
area you're showing us. Tell us what that is.
Paths are the ways that we think about within QuotaPath, the way that we think about commission structures. So this only has one path, your monthly quota commission. However, if we go back to a different plan, there are other plans. So for example, as we saw, about half of people use multi-year. So you may get paid differently on 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year deals. So these are the different ways that you can earn commissions, or the paths, is what we call those.
Understood. That's great.
And then if you click Save this plan for free, you actually can input that directly into a free QuotaPath account and begin tracking your commissions. Or you can share it, and all of the attributes that you entered in will be copied. You can share it out to anybody to say, hey, here's my idea for what we should do for the comp plan this year.
That's great. So if you're using QuotaPath currently and you want to start one of these, you can come here, build it the way you want it, and add it to your portal. But also, if you're just at a company and you're not yet using QuotaPath, you can come to this free tool, build what you think you want to do, and show your boss or show a coworker what you're thinking as far as comp plans go.
Yeah, exactly. You can create and then you also, because QuotaPath has a free version, you can try QuotaPath for free. You can log in via HubSpot here. You can integrate your HubSpot account and see how you would actually calculate commissions. Or if you already have an account, you can just log in.
Those are prioritized properly, Graham. Just FYI, you can keep them that way.
Yeah, that was an intentional note there. And now we have it here, and this plan is automatically built in here. I can then sync it directly into HubSpot. So
that's great, Graham. Having a template is one thing. Have a template I can manipulate as another, and having it as a free tool, it seems ridiculous. Congratulations to your team. This is genius.
Thank you. I've been very happy with the results. I'm super pleased with Compensation Hub and incredibly excited for the future for it.
All right, Sprocketeers, those of you still listening, head to comp.QuotaPath.com and check out all of the compensation plans. Big thanks to Graham and QuotaPath. Thanks for being here, Graham.
Thank you for having me, Grant. Good to chat. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Take care.
You too. Bye.